Let's go Mets. Let's go Mets. Let's go Mets. Yeah.
You gotta believe and invest with your heart. Orange and blue till Mets do us part. Spring training, oh yes, it's the start. City Field gritty till Mets do us part. Hit home runs and knock it out the park. Big Apple till Mets do us part. You gotta believe and invest with your heart. Listen to the show till Mets do us part. John from Brooklyn, Gibby reps NJ. With the other team, I don't care what your friends say. Mets fans, we focus like a sensei. Listen to the podcast Monday, Wednesday. Made a couple bad plays, but we still won. Character, yup, we're gonna build some. Are you gonna check the pod? Is real fun. Just like Mookie, I will, son. So invest with your heart. Orange and blue till Mets do us part. Spring training, oh yes, it's the start. City Field gritty till Mets do us part. Hit home runs and knock it out the park. Big Apple till Mets do us part. You gotta believe and invest with your heart. Listen to the show.
Available now on all streaming platforms. If you love the New York Mets, check out Till Mets Do Us Part. Enough rapping. Let's get to yapping.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Til Mets Do Us Part. We are live on YouTube. We are live on Twitter or X or whatever the hell you want to call it. And I bet you thought you weren't going to see me, but I am here, John Saponaro, coming to you guys live from London, where it is almost 11 p.m. We are sorry for the delay. We had some technical issues with StreamYard. It happens sometimes, but we got a lot of stuff to get into. It was not, and it wasn't me. It wasn't my hotel Wi-Fi, and it wasn't Ibby's home Wi-Fi. So we just had some issues with StreamYard. It happens sometimes, but we're happy that you're all here. Obviously, I am remote, which means that Ibby has been holding it down and is holding it down right now back in New Jersey. Ibby, thank you also for waiting for me. I know I was a couple minutes late, but it didn't matter anyway. It became a moot point. But I am happy to do the show with you, man. It feels like it's been forever, even though it's really only been like a week.
I think it's been a week because we did the one show, but then it was like there's been a lot of breaks mixed in between. But yeah, it's good to have you here. I'm glad to do the show with you. It's better when it's like that. I've had some friends on since you've been gone. Obviously, I had Tone on the 1 week. I had Keith on last week, and don't worry, we're gonna get them both back on because I know you want to do shows with them as well. We had a great conversation. A lot of that stuff's going to carry over into this episode, which should be very interesting because I'm curious on some of your thoughts, especially when we start talking about the bullpen and things of that nature. But as for me, I'm doing well. I'm excited to talk about our Mets. It's Wednesday. The red light's on. Delayed. Apologies for that. And Keith, I see you in the comments. Don't worry over there saying you don't believe that it wasn't my Wi-Fi. It was not my Wi-Fi. I promise you that, and I would never lie to you. I would never lie to the media goon. But no, I'm pumped up. Let's talk some Mets and let's break it all down.
Let's talk now. Look, obviously, because I'm remote and I don't have my full complement of equipment, I can't see the comments. You're going to have to play all the videos. I can't see the comments unless you bring them up on the screen. So just keep that in mind. Joe DeMeo, wow, I'm used to John Saponaro and Mincone not showing up for work. Good to see we got a John. Yes, I am here. It is late, but I am here all the same. I don't see the ticker on the bottom. Is that something that is not running, or is that my bad on my
That's my bad. That's my bad. There we go.
All right.
There we go.
So listen, with that said, Ibby, I mean, look, I understand the Mets hit a little bit of a rough patch towards the end of not having Edwin Diaz out there. I understand that, the bullpen continues to be an absolute fucking disaster. I get all of that. But, when you come off of a road trip and you're 4-4 with a split of 2 4-game series and, you come back home and you get a win and you get back to 500, you stay relevant right in the hunt. And I think the most interesting thing for me was what you told me right before we went live is the fact that, the Mets have a dead even run differential now. Yep. 439 and 439?
I think that was the number. Yeah, it's in the fours, yeah.
Obviously, that's not going to stay, right? Like the odds of ending a season that way are insane. But when you think about the way the Mets started and the way, the Mets weren't scoring enough runs, the tear that the Mets have been on since the start of June, hitting home runs, driving in runs, they're now second in the league in home runs. The offense is there. The starting pitching has been a little up and down, but it's been a little up and down all season. For the most part, the starting pitching is good enough. The bullpen has obviously been the problem. They go out and they get Maton, which, for nothing, for a player to be named later and some cash. So I don't think you really have to worry too much about, the Rays fleecing you. right? Obviously, they can go and they can find somebody who's undervalued in your system, but and a player to be named later can turn into anything, but that's not something you can sweat if you're a Met fan here in 2024. Of course, Maton was the source of some ire for me over the last 24 hours personally, but
we're not going to talk about that.
If you follow me on Twitter, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But no, Ibby, look, I mean, when I look at this, I think, look, I don't think you should be dancing in the streets about where the Mets are at, but I don't think you can be upset because even though they hit that little bit of if you want to call it a rough skid without Edwin Diaz, they're still right where they need to be, which is striking distance. And that's all you can ask for is striking distance. And I know what Stearns came out and said, we could talk about that specifically later, where it's kind of a little bit of a holding pattern right now, but listen, they're where they need to be. They went out, they made a bullpen move. Reed Garrett's arm falls off, which we knew was going to happen.
It's going to happen, yeah.
So, look, I mean, like, how do you feel when you look at this team right now?
This is a great question because I know it was brought up on Shea and Sons. I think it was yesterday. They had a panel going on. They were asking, how do you feel about this team being 500 at the break? And, there were some mixed feelings on it. And my thought was, I have no problem with them being where they are because I bring it back to a point that you have made multiple times. And it was one of the first things that you said when we first started the show that, whatever it was, 3.5 years ago now. And I never thought about baseball in that sense because it was it was a simple take, but it really rings home when you said, like, look, think of every single baseball team as 60-60 to start a season. Because that's essentially what every team eventually gets to. It's what you do with the rest of those games. This team right now is 45-45. So not at that 60-60 point just yet, but 45-45 with a poor National League allowing them to still be in a hunt. You're within striking distance. And I'm to the point now where, we've said multiple times before, it depends. And I said it last week as well with Keith, where I said, look, the next 2 weeks are going to be big for this team in terms of how David Stearns is going to handle everything. But I think where this offense is, I think they deserve an opportunity to be buyers. So I understand why Brandon Nimo is saying and lobbying for his front office to, hey, like, we're in this. Like, we should be buyers. We should be aggressive here. I think and we can talk about it now or we can talk about it later whenever we want to. I think the big thing, though, is really going to be, what exactly is going to be available. And it's not only just for the Mets, these next 2 weeks that are points for other teams as well. These next 2 weeks, we're going to find out a little bit more separation could be had in terms of, what players might be available from certain teams because it's still too close because a lot of teams still say, no, we're in it. We're still in it. We're going to give it some time. So the market really hasn't developed yet. And I think sometimes people need to, again, exercise some patience because you want a lot of things. We all do, but right now, there's not a lot to go out and grab. That's why you get a Phil Maton because that was a guy, and I sent a tweet to Daniel Wexler. If you don't follow him on Twitter, you should. Daniel Wexler was big on him in the offseason.
Yeah, Wex is great.
Wanted to bring him in, and he ended up going to Tampa. He's like, I thought it was a miss. Numbers aren't that great this year, but his underlying numbers are kind of there still, which is why you see Stearns make a move like this. So, look, this is what you're going to be looking at for now. And I know Joe DeMeo was in the chat. I don't know if he still is, but, he had mentioned, look, I know you guys want a lot of stuff, but it's just not available. It's not there right now. And I think that's why people need to just keep fighting. I know this bullpen is beyond frustrating to watch. You can score 8 runs and it's still not safe. Like, I understand that, but that's why when it said holding pattern, that's kind of where it is now because the rest of the market still is yet to materialize. This team has to keep winning to give themselves a shot. Yeah.
You're right. But the other thing you have to realize, with regards to this bullpen is that, look, the Mets go out, they get Maton, good arm, numbers aren't great over the course of the season, but the short-term numbers, I think over his last, whatever it was, like 8 or 10 appearances are really good. And maybe they've unlocked something. And Stearns seems to think that, where he's trending is he's trending in the right direction. And like you said, the underlying numbers have kind of been there all season, despite the high ERA and some of the other bad peripheral numbers. I understand that. But, the Mets are not going to be able, Ibby, to go out and get an entire bullpen. So the Mets are going to need some of these in-house options to start to step up. They are going to need Edwin Diaz to really kind of settle in. He does not need to be the Edwin Diaz from 2 years ago, but he does need to be a reliable closer. He does need to be somebody who can go out there and, not pour gasoline on the fire. Hopefully, this little time off for Reed Garrett, hopefully the injury is not serious. He comes back rested, and he can get back to the Reed Garrett that we saw for the first month, 6 weeks of the season or so. That's going to be a boom. Look, I think Adam Ottavino, I want him out, but I don't think there's a path to get Adam Ottavino out of here for everything I just said, because you're going to need more reliable arms. And I know nobody likes Drew Smith, and understandably, but he's out for the year. People love Brooks Raley, but he's out for the year. Nobody knows exactly where Sean Reed-Foley is at right now, probably after the All-Star break, but we'll see. So you're going to need some of these arms to just kind of be better. And if Ottavino is a situational pitcher against mostly right-handers in the 6th inning, sometimes the 5th, sometimes the 7th, you might have to live with that, because look, you can't get rid of him and get rid of Diekman and put Garrett on the IL to go along with Sean Reed-Foley and Brooks Raley and Drew Smith. And again, whether you like these guys or not, you're not going to be able to rebuild this bullpen on the fly. They can't go get 10 players. They can't go, and obviously I'm exaggerating, but you can't go out and get that many people. So obviously they're going to need some of the people who are here to step up. Hopefully Maton comes in and he's, kind of where he's been trending. And then maybe you can get something out of Fujinami. Maybe Bryce Montes de Oca is getting close, and at least how I feel about the bullpen. Stuff. Yeah. Now the sidebar to that is walks,
yes.
which is Fujinami's thing, right? Like
yes.
That's what he is. He's stuff and walks. That's all he is. So I don't know if you can trust him to be your 8th inning guy necessarily right out of the gate, but I do think what we're seeing right now is a lack of stuff in the bullpen, because you've got a diminished Adam Ottavino who's old. You've got a diminished Jake Diekman who's old, also who walks the ballpark. And then when you got Reed Garrett out there throwing with half an arm, his stuff is way down. I don't think Diaz his stuff's always electric, but he's not where he needs to be. It's just been a very up and down season. So his stuff is down. You lose Raley, who's a plus stuff guy. And so they need more burners in the bullpen. They need some guys like Fujinami, like their combined fastball between Fujinami and Montes de Oca, it's like 203 miles an hour.
Right.
I think we could use a little bit of 203 miles an hour. We don't need the guys who throw 92 coming out of the bullpen.
No, I agree. Yeah.
That we've never heard of. These NPCs in the bullpen. Like that's what we have right now.
Yeah, it's very frustrating because, and we've talked about that all off season, where we wanted harder throwers, we wanted a different profile of players, and we were very outspoken about. Look, we understood why they brought Ottavino back, but again, you wanted something, and it's okay to aspire for more things, and I think that's kind of where everyone wants to be, and I think a lot of people are just ready to just toss Adam Ottavino to the side because it's beyond frustrating watching him. It seems as though it's a given that he's going to come in and give up a home run or give up 2 to 3 runs and, not even be able to work out of the inning. It's beyond frustrating with that. And, it seems as though, we're starting to get some better numbers as well when it comes to our starters. I think we're, again, we've mentioned multiple times that we have to get more length out of them. And I put, into the banner down low, talked about how Christian Scott returned. People want to talk. That was a huge talking point over the weekend, where it's like, you bring him out after 70, or a couple days ago, you bring him out after 75 pitches or 77 pitches. He was on a 75 count and he was cruising. He could have got one more out. You bring in the pen, things kind of just unraveled from that. I understand protecting the guy, but
if I can interrupt,
go ahead.
If I can interrupt just for a second,
yeah,
what happened in his last start? They left him in,
right?
Yes, and he cost them the game. Now, I like Christian Scott. I think he's got a good arm. I think he's going to be a part of this rotation in the future. But, it's easy to Monday morning quarterback. Oh, you should have left him in. Well, the last time they did leave him in, and he's the one who cost them the game. Now, I don't think he gave back the entire lead, right? I think it was he wound up being responsible for like 4 runs in the game against the Nationals. But still, he was the one who gave up the big blow that allowed them to get back in it and then eventually win the game. The bullpen didn't help. But so you can't just sit there and go, just leave him in. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Just you should have left him in. We're not talking about prime Jacob deGrom. We're talking about a young pitcher who does have a propensity to give up home runs because he attacks the zone, a young pitcher who sometimes, as he gets a little bit more tired, his stuff betrays him a little bit, his stuff weakens. And you're talking about a guy who, listen, whether I like it, you like it, the people in the chat like it, or whatever, this is how pitches are handled nowadays. And we could argue that it's too soft, it's kid gloves, it's this, it's that, but this is what it is. If you don't like it, stop watching baseball. I don't mean to be that, point blank, but like, we're not going back. We're not getting guys throwing, 20 complete games in a season anymore. That's never going to happen again. So, I think you have to manage your expectations a little bit with what you're going to get out of Christian Scott. It sucks because the Mets haven't really had a true ace this season. Severino's been the closest thing. Senga's been out. And I think if you had Senga and Severino from the beginning of the season, this would be less of an issue. Hopefully when Senga comes back, it is less of an issue. And then maybe with the 6-man rotation, maybe with whether it's Jose Butto or Tyler McGill or somebody who stays in the bullpen, then you have coverage for Christian Scott. Because if you're going to keep him on a strict 75 pitch limit or whatever it is, you're going to need a guy. Yeah. You're going to need a guy like Butto or McGill or whoever it is, pick your poison and come in and piggyback him. It ain't going to be Joey Lucchesi because he's gone.
No, he's gone.
And he should be also. Let's the faux outrage over the DFA of Joey Lucchesi. Let's all fucking calm down.
Are you going to fight with Rosie right now? Rosie's saying, I'm surprised they DFA'd Lucchesi.
No, okay. I'm not going to fight with Rosie because Rosie's great. And listen, there were people, because I kind of said it, like, I think I said it on Mark Healy's post, where I'm like, Lucchesi also sucks. Like, it's fine. You're not losing some great player. Now, if your argument is they could have just DFA'd Diekman and kept Lucchesi and maybe brought Lucchesi up to be the lefty in the bullpen short term, okay, if that's your argument, that's fine. I'm not going to say you're wrong on that. But, like, let's not act like, oh, my God, could you believe they DFA'd Lucchesi? And yes, thank you, Jazz. And by the way, shout out to Jazz, because Jazz was like, let me grab my headphones and jump on this stream, and then literally grabbed the headphones and jumped on the stream. So Lucchesi had the least amount of team control. Yeah, that's important too. And again, he's also not a spring chicken. The Mets gave him I don't know. I don't want to turn this into the Joey Lucchesi show, but I think the Mets gave Lucchesi more than his fair share of opportunities.
Yeah.
He had a couple of good moments, really good moments. And that was it. Yeah. And that's kind of what you expect.
Yeah. And of course, Rosie, we know we're not fighting. We're just joking around. Just surprised at the DFA over others. And again, to Jazz's point, saying at least amount of team control. And it's, what Joey Lucchesi is. And I understand why it could be confusing for some, because you're like, at this point, we have to have as much depth as possible. I know a lot of people have tossed around the idea of using all your starters as not only starters to start the game, but also putting guys into the bullpen, that being the likes of Butto and McGill and even the Lucchesi that was mentioned. I understand that, but I think that, when you're strapped right now, you want to use a certain type of profile like we're talking about. Maybe Joe Lucchesi doesn't have. Like, I think we can count on probably one hand the amount of times that Joey Lucchesi has provided a great game to this team. And look, his best game was last year amongst the shit, which is crazy. And it was amongst a shitty season, and he pitched the best game the entire year. And, I think a lot of people hold on to those things sometimes too. Not you, Rose, just saying in general. People hold on to those things and they fight over those things. Yeah.
The thing is too, Ibby, and I'll just say this from a roster construction standpoint. I don't know if everybody feels this way. Ant Rivera, I'm here for Phil Maton talk and only Phil Maton talk. Phil Maton talk gets you in trouble, Ant. And you know what, Ant?
Big trouble.
No, hold on one second.
Forget about it.
I don't want to derail the conversation, but
of course not.
If I need to be completely 100, it's because I defended Ant in the first place.
See, this is what happens. We go in and we try to protect it, and then we get attacked.
What I was going to say, back to baseball. What I was going to say was, when you look at Lucchesi, if you're just being honest with yourself, I love you too, Ant. If you're just being honest with yourself as a baseball fan, I think, I'm not saying there's a good chance that this happens or whatever, but a Jake Diekman getting right and figuring it out in the second half is a more valuable bullpen option than Joey Lucchesi as your lefty in the bullpen. That, just calling it what it is, that's facts. Now, I don't think Diekman is going to get it right, and I'm not even sure what getting it right looks like, because he's obviously had some good years.
Getting on a rocket and getting out of here.
Yeah, like, look, this is what he is. He's another guy. He's got some good stuff, but then he walks the ballpark. He loses control, all this shit. I understand that, but him in that role, a role that he's done his entire career with some success, I would feel more comfortable with than DFAing him, putting Lucchesi in a role that he's never really done.
Yeah.
And saying, oh, you're going to get more out of that. Now, if you want to DFA Diekman and that was your move, I can't argue with you. Again, I'm just saying have reasonable expectations. You think Joey Lucchesi was going to jump in the bullpen and be the lefty that we've been waiting for? I doubt it. I do. He's never really done it in his career, so why would he?
It's another crafty lefty at that point. It's not this hard thrower that you would want. And again, it's like you can only have so many guys that throw with that. I keep on talking about certain profiles.
Diekman has better
not
stuff.
Good enough.
For a short reliever, Diekman has better stuff than Lucchesi.
And the main issue with Diekman is, look, the losing Raley, and I mentioned this last week with Keith. I said losing Raley, who was the number one option as the lefty, putting Diekman into the spot of being the top lefty out of the pen is just, it's not working. And he was never meant to be that. He came in here as the secondary type. And I know Ant's here, and he always says, I would love to have two lefties. Him being the second option as a lefty, less is expected of you, not as much is put on your shoulders. But when you're the number one guy and you got to come out, and maybe you got to face a tougher part of the line, maybe you got to face a tougher lefty, maybe you got to face a couple of guys in a row. It's like, it's not working, and it's beyond frustrating to watch. But again, this team is stuck in a holding pattern right now, and they have to figure things out and try to find ways to win because the entire crop is so bunched up. Nobody is ready to sell off pieces. Everyone's trying to buy the same thing. The market is through the roof right now. Nothing has materialized. So again, Mets fans, I get it. It sucks. I hate watching this bullpen as much as all of you do. It's beyond frustrating to watch, but it's kind of where we are right now. And we need to just hope for the best and just, as Keith said last week, squeeze your cheeks as you're watching this team. Like, that's basically it.
It is. I mean, it is what it is, right? Like, look, when you look at the way this team is set up right now, again, they're 500 with a dead even run differential, where they are in a weak league, and everything is in front of them. So it makes you want, as a fan, because I feel the same way. We're doing the show and we have our other, kind of to put our other hat on. But as a fan, I want them to go all in. Not all in. I want them to buy. I want them to make the team better because I want them to go chase a thing. I told you winning is important. I stand by that. But you have to realize that if the options aren't there right now, then you just have to grit and bear it. Like, there's nothing you can do right now because the options just aren't there. That's the only thing that's not playing in their favor, is that the NL is so bad that teams aren't selling off. And with the addition of the extra wild card, teams already weren't selling off early. You have to be dead in the water, completely out of it. And even then, you probably need to overpay to get a piece of significance. So the fact that they're at 500 is great. The fact that they've evened their run differential, I know nobody's going to fucking, jump out of bed for an even run differential, but considering where they started, I'll take it. And considering how bad the NL is, I'll take it. But those are all the positives. The negative is there's just not a lot of options with the injuries, with how close things are in the standings and teams not ready to sell, and with the fact that some of the other guys haven't been good, or there are people who are no longer injured that just aren't ready to come back. Like, Fujinami's not ready to be in the major leagues, and Bryce Montes de Oca right now isn't ready to be in the major leagues. And because then if you go to those guys and they don't do it, now what? Now where? Now what?
Exactly.
Now where do you go?
I'm going to work through some of the comments too.
Go ahead.
Jazz bring up a comment just right now, and I was going to bring this up, so thank you for bringing it up, Jazz. And the Nats are probably not trading Kyle Finnegan or Harvey in the division. I was thinking about that this morning, how I was going to bring it up as a point, so thank you, Jazz. And I talked about Kyle Finnegan with Keith last week, who did a whole video on Shane Sons about him as a potential target. But knowing that it's in division, it makes things that much more difficult, especially when it comes to the Nats. They don't seem like they're on the same wavelength, whereas I think, and funny enough, it's Jazz. The Marlins seem more, adept at potentially making a deal within division with the Mets, since they have done it multiple times,
especially for big players.
Especially for big players too. Yeah,
I mean, players. I know that was at least a generation ago, but you're talking players much bigger than fucking Kyle Finnegan.
Right.
And I like Finnegan. I think when Keith posted that, like, spot on during that whole Nats series the first time, I was like, man, Finnegan would be great in this bullpen. Somebody with closing experience that can pitch in the 8th inning and jump in for Diaz if Diaz is getting overworked or if Diaz, just needs a spell. Finnegan is the perfect solution. But is it going to happen? I don't know. It is. It's tough.
Another thing that Jazz also brought up, talk about how Joey Lucchesi had a 4.20 ERA in AAA, not great.
Yeah,
look, AAA is AAA, but to be fair, AAA is a hitter's haven for a lot of people, but still not ideal. If you are a better pitcher, you could pitch to better numbers as opposed to that. Some other comments bring up, we got Milo coming in saying how he wants to put Tyler McGill into the pen, hasn't pitched since June 29th against Houston. And I feel like he profiles better as a relief pitcher, at least for right now, and how this roster is currently constructed. I agree with that. I think it's a great point, and one that you just mentioned before, in terms of someone that could end up being in the pen, whether it's him or Buta, whichever they feel more comfortable with.
I think before you jump into the next comment, I think you and I were in agreement. There were some people on the show, commenters, that disagreed. I think Tyler McGill, what he did in the offseason, what he did in spring training, with that American sport and all that stuff that he did, I think he deserved a shot to prove that he could be a starting pitcher because the numbers were there. I think he deserved one more shot. They gave him that shot. It did not work. So now I am firmly in the Tyler McGill should be in the bullpen column. You can put me in that. No. I think his options as a starting pitcher with the New York Mets are over forever.
And we talked about when McConey was on, saying how, look, if you just allow this guy to, just gas up for an inning, it's like, hey man, we know you got 7 pitches that you can work with, and if, we'll figure out a plan on how we're going to devise it. But you're only working for an inning. So you can work back to being up a guy who's throwing 98, 99, 100 miles an hour, working those other pitches. And it could be a potential weapon for us. Carson obviously coming in with some jokes saying, yes, Joey Lucchesi with his 88-mile-an-hour sinkers dominating out of the bullpen. And we also had...
maybe if this was 1988...
Yeah, and then we got Junior Swingman saying, yes, we did. Joe Lucchesi was going to become Billy Wagner 2.0. Hey, look, it's crazy because it's said in jest, but there are people out there that actually believe things of this nature. I got a good one from Anthony I'm going to bring up in a second, but I also wanted to bring up a point from Darren Rivera because I got some numbers here as well, courtesy of Keith, who posted it this morning. Since Alvarez has been catching Quintana, we're talking about our starting pitchers, obviously, he was under a 1 ERA. Remember when we wanted Quintana to the moon a few weeks ago? Yes, I do. You know why? Because I put out a poll whether you wanted to send Quintana to the moon, to Mars, or to the sun on our community page, and it got a lot of traction. And a lot of people wanted him gone, me being one of them. But for the last 30 days, shout out to Keith and Shay and Sons for posting this morning. Over the last 30 days, Jose Quintana is pitching to a .89 ERA and a .89 WHIP. The man has been dominant. He's been doing very well, and it's a far cry from what he had been doing prior, which is a good thing in the opposite direction. So, the Francisco Alvarez effect, not only big on the offense, but very big on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, absolute stud. I mean, look, you can't talk about Francisco Alvarez enough. I would love to see the Mets extend Francisco Alvarez, obviously.
We talked about that last week. We talked about it a lot. Yeah.
But I'm going to be consistent with what I said in the offseason leading into the season this year, which is you don't have to. The real window for an Alvarez extension, I always thought, was mid-season this year into the offseason before next season. I just think because some of the injuries and some of the ways he was handled last year into this year, I think you didn't need to rush out to do it. Now, do I want Francisco Alvarez to be a Met for a long time? Absolutely. The guy is an unbelievable player on both sides of the ball. He is clearly right now the heart and soul of this team. I think Lindor is the captain for me. I know that's controversial for some people, which is fucking ludicrous, but whatever. I think Lindor is the captain, but I think that Francisco Alvarez is the heartbeat of this team. And so, of course, I want him here forever, for a very, very, very long time. So when I say that, I don't mean like, put it off. No, not that. I understood why they didn't extend him going into the season. And I always said that mid-season into next offseason was the optimal time to do it. And with money coming off the books and a lot of stuff moving around into 2025, I think that's what we're going to see. I think Francisco Alvarez will have a long-term deal that he deserves before the start of next season. I do think that's going to happen.
And a big point that I made last week, and it was on par with what we had talked about, saying how we don't need to extend him. But the point that I was making last week was, yes, we don't need to do it because of where he is contractually at the moment, and even age-wise, but the point I was making was, look, we had said he hadn't done it for a full season. And that was the big point that we talked about. It's like, oh, let's see what happens when he, faces the rigors of an entire season, the ups and downs, injuries. And look, he's faced all of that this season so far, and he is dominated. And that is why I think he's really showing out his worth. And I do think an extension can come. And I wanted to bring up Jazz's real quick before I went to Ant's question. But saying how do the Mets need to name a captain? If so, is it Lindor, Nimo, or Alvarez? I don't think so. Again, captains or whatever. For me, it's more so just seeing things play out, whether it's on the field or off the field, when it's through media and stuff like that, how people carry themselves, the things that they do. When I see Lindor and Nimo paying for dinners, when I see them stepping up and saying all the right things, protecting teammates, helping teammates, like when I see stuff like that, I don't need someone to work into a contract. Hey, I want to be named the captain, or hey, put a C on my chest. It's like, no, I don't think it's needed. And that's why we've only seen it so many times in baseball. Like captain, you're like, okay, they gave it to Wright. Keith had it. You think of Derek Jeter. You think of Mike Sweeney out in Kansas City. It's like, this
deep cut now at this point.
But still,
Jesus, I forgot about that. You're right, though.
I don't need that. For me, it's just all about guys stepping up and doing the right things for the name on the front of their chest, as opposed to just protecting the name on the back of it.
Yeah, I agree. When I because I know Jazz is with both of us interacting on Twitter and stuff, and doesn't necessarily tune into the show all that often, but I appreciate you being here. When I say captain, I don't mean literally. I don't care if the Mets have a captain or not. Baseball's not a sport where one is needed. I'm not going to get up in arms if somebody is named captain. I'm also not going to care who it is. They could name Jose Iglesias captain, and I would be like, cool. I don't care who it is. I don't care why it is. I just, I guess when I say what I said, it's more of an acknowledgement that they are captain material. And obviously, to me, Lindor and Nimo fit that bill to a T. Like you said, the way they handle the media, their play on the field speaks for itself. The being spokespersons for the team, not only to the media, but within the team, right? Going out there, we're going to pay for dinners, or Nimo saying, hey, look, I'm trying to convince the front office that you really need to fight for us. Or, even it's something stupid like both guys having an input on the City Connect jerseys. Like that stuff, that's captain stuff. And Armand Grimace should be named captain. Honestly, I don't know if this is a hot take. Grimace has to be something. Like the Mets have to just put a McDonald's in the city. That's all. Just put a McDonald's in there. Put a McDonald's in city. Listen to me. The Mets need to do something like he has to become like an honorary mascot for like the rest of the season, where there's like Mr. Met, Mrs. Met, Grimace every home game. And I know people are dressing up in the crowd as Grimace, and that's great. I want to see Grimace dancing on a dugout. You could have Grimace throw out the first pitch every game. Like, the Mets need to do something. I know they probably can't do this midseason because they have, the hospital for the special surgery, or New York Presbyterian, or whatever fucking stupid patch is on their sleeve.
Yeah.
But, man, if the Mets had a McDonald's sponsorship and the sponsorship patch was just the Grimace, God, I would love it. I think, because, listen, I know some people are going to go, oh, that's not baseball and that's not, whatever. But, it would, at least if you hate the sponsorships on the jerseys, which I know a lot of people do, and I don't really care. It is what it is. But if you hate it, at least be able to have fun with it, right? At least work the patch into, the vibe, right? It's like, oh, shit, we have a sponsorship with McDonald's, and our logo on the sleeve is the fucking Grimace. God, that would be great. Even if they just did it on the City Connect jerseys with the purple in them already, chef's kiss.
The one thing I will bring up is a hilarious comment from our friend TJ. And it's talking about the captain status and the thing that he thinks happened, saying how Lindor became captain for kicking McNeil's ass in front of his teammates in the players-only meeting. And I'm just picturing that. I think it's hilarious. But I do appreciate that comment. But one more I'll bring up from Ant, which was about the bullpen talk, and we can carry it over into the second half as well, since we're about 35 minutes in. And we got 195 people here right now, so shout out to all of you that are with us on YouTube or on Twitter. If you're with us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like the video. So we have about...
And sorry we were late today. It was through no fault of our own. It's just
a
technical difficulties.
Apologies. So thank you all for being here. Now we're at 200. So again, wherever you're watching us, retweet us, follow us. Our ats are right underneath, right over here. And we appreciate all of you. So 203 of you just hanging out, talking Mets with us before the game starts in about 45 minutes, whatever it may be. And
because we started late, might be a little bit of a quicker show, shorter show.
Yeah,
because we don't want to go too much after first pitch if we get caught up.
Definitely want to keep it tight, so we're going to try to end this around 7. So we'll move through this quickly. But yes, please make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. But one more question before we go into the break, and that was Ant. We were talking about bullpen, bringing up what about the idea of revisiting David Robertson? Are you with it? Are you not with it?
This is not a hedge. This is just my honest feeling. The bullpen is abysmal. So if you're going to get me somebody who's not abysmal, how could I say no? Robertson pitched good for us. He wasn't great after he left. Obviously fell apart a little bit in the second half. I would bring if you're going to give me a quality arm, I don't care if they're 37, 27, 107. Go get me Billy Wagner now. I legitimately, obviously I'm kidding, but I don't care who it is. Go get me a better arm. So do I love Robertson? No. I would like to see the Mets do a little bit better than that. But also, I'm not going to be upset if they go get him because he was really good here. He obviously can pitch in New York. He knows how to pitch when he doesn't have his best stuff. He knows how to pitch in the biggest spots. So I can't poo-poo it. I can't be like, no, absolutely not. I'd like to see them maybe do a bit better. Now, to me, he's a second piece. If you told me the Mets got David Robertson and were able to also get Kyle Finnegan, now I'm fucking ecstatic. But, I don't know if that's going to happen. But also beggars can't be choosers, because if we can't get Kyle Finnegan or Hunter Harvey or one of these, younger, better arms, well, if you need to get me Maton and Robertson and, I don't know, pick another guy, one of the guys from Miami or something, okay.
Yeah. And look, there's I think the names that are being tossed in the chat right now are all proper. We got Killer Kelb, my friend Brian, saying how Robertson is a big time pitcher. And look, I would not mind him coming back to answer Ant's question. I would not mind him coming back at all. I thought he was fantastic. I was big on him when he was here. And there are other names that are being thrown in here as well, to your point, saying how secondary pieces as well, but someone like Matt Moore from the Angels, or even again, we've talked about forever being Andrew
Chafin ain't never gonna happen, man.
But the point being, I like where people's I like where TJ's mind is. I like where a lot of the chat's mind is when it comes to this, because I said it last week. I was like, I think people are so attached to the idea of the larger names, and this deadline, that large name is like a Tanner Scott, and that's in division. That's tough. Yeah. But again, look at what David Stearns has done. Look at the types of players that he's brought in, whether it's been here or in Milwaukee. He's a guy that yes, at times it feels makeshift. It feels like, who the hell is this? But then it ends up working out when some tweaks are that's what you're looking at here. So that's why when you see someone like a Phil Maton come in, or if they went to a Matt Moore type, if they went to Detroit and said, hey, we want, Shelby Miller, or we want someone else within their pen, and you're working with names like that, someone that's not really at the top echelon, but you think that because of the underlying numbers, it can work better here. I think that's what they're doing, because I still question if this team, David Stearns being that, is going to be someone that's going to go all in terms of giving up the farm for something, mainly because I don't know if he's ready to do that yet, but also the main reason, I don't think that player exists to do that.
Right. It's funny. Andrew Chafin strikes me as the kind of player, the Mets would trade for him, and then as soon as they did, he would get indicted for January 6th.
He would he would come here and he would be awful. That's what would happen.
He would be. No, something because it's been too long rumored. It's been too long. Perfect fit. Come here, dog shit. Guaranteed. Garrett, come here, arm fall off. Come here, like something would go wrong immediately. Oh God, Jesus Christ. No, thank you. Look,
on that note,
the thing is
let's
about
go
some
to
of these really quick about these bullpen, because we'll talk more about buying and selling and stuff. But real quick, some of these guys, you know, the Hunter Harveys of the world and Kyle Finnegan, like Kyle Finnegan's 32 years old. Yeah. So I know the Nats probably don't like trading with the Mets and da-da-da-da-da-da. But, you know, that was different. That was trading, you know, big-time play. It was Juan Soto, their franchise cornerstone. It was Max Scherzer at the deadline, a guy who won them a World Series. Are you going to help the Mets win a World Series? Probably not. You know, so, like, these are bigger players. Obviously, Kyle Finnegan is a big part of their team now, but he's not a legacy player. He's a late-blooming player who's turned himself into a good relief pitcher. He's 32 years old. He's arbitration eligible next year. How good are the Nats trying to be? How good are they going to be next year? He's replaceable. You know, Hunter Harvey's a couple of years younger. I think he's 29. Same thing. Arbitration eligible next year for the final time. They're both free agents in 2026. I don't know that there's not a huge track record of these two teams working together and trading with each other, but I wouldn't count it out completely, especially with Kyle Finnegan. He's 32. He's not going to be a free agent until he's, you know, 34 years old. To me, I think maybe you could work something out. That's all I'm saying. I think it's not this, oh my God, they'll never do it kind of deal. That's all.
Yeah, I think you're proper there. And yeah, it's going to be very interesting because, again, I think the Nats are starting to really fall out of it. And I think they are going to be one of the bigger sellers because they have pieces that can help a lot of teams. So we'll see how that dictates the overall market and what people are going to have to give up to get certain players. But again, that market is going to fluctuate because as these next 2 weeks go by, we'll find out if people are going to be heavier buyers or there's going to be more people flooding the market to sell, which is going to lessen the price for certain people. But that being said, 216 people here are live with us right now across Twitter or X and YouTube. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're going to go into the break right now for 30 seconds for an ad spot. We're going to come out of it. We're going to do some quick MANSCAPED reads. We're going to do some quick independent safes reads. You know, and then we will move on to we can continue the bullpen talk if we want, but really talk about what we want to talk about, and that's defending the guys that we love so much, that being Francisco Lindor and Brandon Nimo. But that being said, give us 30 seconds, guys. We'll come out of the break. We'll continue things. Til Mets Do Us Part here. Matt Ibanez, John Saponaro on the other side.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? We are back. John Saponaro, Matt Ibanez with Til Mets Do Us Part. We are live on Twitter. We are live on YouTube like we are each and every single week, although Ibby has been holding it down a lot because my schedule has been crazy. It's going to lighten up a little bit. We're going to get back to some normalcy, but I'm happy to be here. It is late where I am out in London. It is almost midnight, but it's almost time for Mets baseball. But Ibby, you've been doing a great job, man. I listened to the episode last week almost in its entirety. I had to cut it short a little bit because I was doing it while I was on the bus and traveling and all this stuff, but it was great. Shout out to Keith. Looking forward to, talking to him when we have the opportunity to do that together. Same with Tone from a couple weeks ago. Listen to that episode as well. It was fantastic. Shout out to him. But we appreciate everybody who tunes in wherever they tune in. All of this made possible courtesy of the Brella Sports Network, which we appreciate. Wherever you watch, make sure to like it, retweet it, subscribe to the channel, all that stuff. And if you can't watch us live, which we understand is difficult to do sometimes you have to jump in, sometimes you have to leave early. I get all of that. If you can't be with us live, don't worry, because in a little while, this will drop as an audio podcast across all of the platforms that you know and love, which means you can listen to it on the go. You just won't get to see our smiling faces. But of course, if you hate my guts, like some people on Twitter do, maybe that's better. Anyway, Ibby, why don't we hit him with a quick word from Independent Safes.
We'll hit it with independent safes like we always do. Independent safes are always protecting homes and businesses with secure residential and commercial safes, fireproof peace of mind in every corner. Visit independentsafes.com today for security that stands strong. And as always, we love our partnership with Independent Safes. They're good to us. We are good to them in turn, and we love mentioning how sometimes we want to put certain people into those safes and throw away the key. And I think John would love to, at times, probably put the Twitter or X app in general into that safe and just walk away for a day, just to enjoy the fact that he's in London as opposed to being mercilessly harassed the way he has been over the last 24 hours. Independentsafes.com. Check them out.
This is all I'm going to say about that. I'm not going to give credence to this person's name.
We're not saying names. No,
I'm not saying names. I don't care. Okay.
No.
Ibby, I don't believe necessarily in blocking people. You got to do some really vile stuff to get blocked. And this guy has called me every name in the book. It has been sexist, homophobic, and misogynist. It's been
brutal.
It's been brutal. All because
random streets in Brooklyn I don't know anything about. Yeah, all this stuff.
I know that my style is not for everybody. Shout out to Tim Ryder. Tim Ryder's a friend of mine. He's a friend of the show. He was like, man, you're too harsh sometimes. I understand that. It's not for everybody. I was harsh with this dude. I was not as harsh as I've been to some other people, and now he has taken it as a personal vendetta to just destroy me, or he thinks, across all kinds of social media. He found my Instagram, which is not hard to find, by the way, because it's the same fucking handle because I don't hide. But anyway, he found me on Instagram. He DM'd me there. He's sending me all kinds of comments. So, like, listen, it's fine. It is not ruining. Yeah, Ty Cobb's ghost is coming after me on Twitter. Would you believe it? It's all because I called him an alleged murderer, which I think he was. But anyway,
or Yogi's bag of bones. Oh my God.
None of this has stopped me from having a good time. I'm having a great time in London. London is one of my favorite cities in the world. I am absolutely thrilled to be here. I went to a Michelin star restaurant last night because I'm a bougie motherfucker sometimes, and I enjoyed it. I am having a great time, and I'm going to have an even better time tomorrow because I am doing the Bat Flips and Nerds podcast, which is going to be fantastic, which shout out to them because they were like, listen, we can make this work. We'll come out to you. We'll figure it out. And, to be able to, we have a good listenership, kind of not surprisingly, but look, we've never done anything actually internationally, but our audio numbers overseas are very good with this show.
Strong,
to be able for me to be able to jump on with them and kind of promote the show and promote what we do, that's going to be awesome. And then of course with Mets in UK, who decided to accommodate me by throwing this watch party tomorrow because it's UK friendly baseball, starts at 6:30 p.m. tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to that as well. Looking forward to meeting some awesome UK Met fans. So I'm having a great time. I'm having an absolute great time, and I am not going to let some person ruin that. Also, I am a man of my word because in that first ever comment, I said, I am not going to reply no matter what happens. And I have not replied to a single thing, and I'm not going to. I'm going to see how long this can go on. And maybe, I hope it happens. I said this to you privately. I hope it continues on until the end of time, till one or both of us is dead.
I mean,
sometimes I'm a petty bastard too.
I offered up to John. He can borrow my gimmick if he wanted to do this. And whenever someone's going after me or talking shit to me on X or Twitter or whatever, I always am nice to them, and I kill them with kindness, and I offer them a nice discount code, and that being one from Manscaped. You can get 20% off and free shipping when you use the promo code TMDUP at checkout. Okay, 20% off, free shipping. Look, we got some great news, and I'm going to say it now because I want to. And we got some great news this morning from the great people over at Manscaped, and they have re-upped with us. So if you thought it was funny, if you like it, I know Patty's in the comments. I know she always likes when we do our Manscaped reads, and John's showing off the bag, and I'm showing off all of the cool stuff that Manscaped sends us. Okay, so shout out to them for re-upping with us. The reads get to stay. The graphics get to stay. They're going to send up some new funny ones that we can have some free reign with, if you will, free ball, if you will. shout out to them. And again, the promo code is right there, TMDUP at checkout. Get you 20% off and free shipping. Tell them Til Mets sent you. And yeah, we'll keep it going. Good stuff.
Let me just say this, AB. This is proof positive. I am, I don't know, what am I, 6,000 miles away or something like that from where I live. I've got my Manscaped bag with me because I never leave home without it. I've got all the products. So I know this is not a proper read, but if you're watching live on YouTube, I've got boom right there. This is not for show.
Nice product placement.
It's all right here. I use it. And it comes in this carrying case. If you get the package that we got, it's all conveniently placed in here. It all fits. And there's room for more stuff. I even have some stuff in here that isn't necessarily from there. And you know what? It's great. You know how I know it's great, Ibby? Because when I was traveling back from Germany a couple weeks ago, I had this bag in my luggage and something in there, not from Manscaped, my beard balm actually that I use, exploded in here. Oh. And it did not get in my luggage. It did not get on my clothes. It did not even get in my suitcase. It stayed right in this bag. And this bag is easy to wash. So perfect.
I appreciate Patty showing the emoji of John and myself, essentially, right there when it comes to somebody with hair and somebody without hair. But yes, Mr. Nobody, long live Manscaped. They are staying with us for a little bit longer.
Viva Manscaped.
We are pumped up about that. But yeah, shout out to them. But yeah, let's for the second half of the show, we got about 15-20 minutes to work with, and that's like a legit 15-20 minutes to work with, because we don't want to be running into the time with the show. And I know John's, it's late over there for John. He'll probably want to watch the game for a little bit, but let's not go too long. But
no, I ain't gonna make this whole. I'm not gonna make the whole game. Shout out to everybody in the UK who watches.
It's crazy.
Like American baseball fans. Jesus, I cannot hang, dude.
Shout out to them because the time difference is absolutely wild. But no, some more good names are being tossed into the chat when it comes to bullpen, and we can talk about them in a little bit. Whether I see Drew Smiley's name was tossed in here, saying how he's got a 3.48 ERA at the bullpen for the Cubs, rental player. Yeah, I guess what the Cubs choose to do. Again, I think these next 2 weeks are big for the Cubs. We'll see what happens with them. But a lot of interesting names, and I'm pumped up and I'm happy that the names that are being said are not outlandish names. And I said, I think you're looking at smaller names. And look, the majority of the fan base, the vocal minority that is X, will voice displeasure when smaller names come in, like Phil Maton, which is why John is getting harassed right now. But I'm gonna allow it to play out because again, it's different this time around as opposed to when Billy Epler did it, because circumstances are different in terms of what's available. And the team in general is a little bit different as opposed to when Billy Epler did it. So we'll allow it to play. And again, for some reason, Billy Epler's on SNY tonight. I don't know what that's going to be about. I'll catch some of the clips, I'm sure. But what I really want to talk about, really, is I put out a tweet about, and I know you did as well, a great one from TikTok, about Francisco Lindor.
Oh, yes. Shout out really quick. Shout out to, I got to find the handle really quick because I tagged the dude's, I went ahead and tagged his TikTok and his YouTube because I wanted to give him credit. But when you try to just take a TikTok video and post it to Twitter, it doesn't work. It's just a link. And I knew nobody was going to watch it. So I screen recorded the whole thing and posted it in its entirety. But I couldn't find his Twitter. But somebody found his Twitter and sent it to me. So I do want to give him a shout out. It's at BSBL with Peyton. So at baseball with Peyton. And that is the dude who made this video over on TikTok. And I guess he also posted on YouTube. Listen, I don't know this guy from a hole in the wall. AB doesn't know him, has nothing to do with the show. I don't even think he has anything to do with the Mets. From everything I could see, he's a Yankees fan. But, and I don't know, his coverage seems good, seems pretty comprehensive based on that video. But shout out to him for really putting in the legwork right there. And when you start to have people, I think the other dude is Yankees World or one of those guys who's been a staunch defender of Lindor. If you have people from other fan bases riding for Lindor more than people in your own fan base, it's a shame on it's clear who's wrong.
I just don't understand. I'll get to my point in a moment, but to continue this one real quick, I just don't understand what people want from a player. I don't. And And I said it's unfortunate that he's living the Carlos Beltran life, but I think it's tenfold, like, even worse because of how media in general has changed since Beltran was truly in his prime, from like 06 to 10 when you think about it, or I'm sorry, 05 to 10 when you think about it in comparison to where media and social media is now. I think it's a lot more difficult when, you know, players' wives are being attacked and things of that nature. But I don't understand what people want. I'm regurgitating things here, but bitching about money, what the guy gets paid, and it's broken down in that video saying what you're pissed off that the guy's getting paid actually less than what he's worth. I don't know what people want. And another thing that to really bring home what my point's going to be from my tweet, saying how, you know, I don't care about the All-Star game. You know, I'm proud, and I've said on the show multiple times that Francisco Lindor is my shortstop. I love him. He's the man. He's awesome. He's a great role model. He's everything that you would want to represent your team. Like, that's everything. What he is. Everything. And, you know, approachable, nice. And you've heard, like, I know Cameron Maben's working with Foul Territory now, and he had mentioned in a tweet, I think it was today or yesterday, saying how, like, I don't understand why Francisco Lindor gets the amount of shit that he gets. Doesn't make any sense. He's humble. He's a great teammate. All these things. And I just, again, this comes back to a point that John has made multiple times, saying how this fan base just loves to hate itself and bitch and moan. And I don't know what you want, man. Like, this is in my book an all-star, but what the all-star game is not what you think it is. And the fact that he's not there and Brandon Nimmo's not there is just stupid. And I know why they wanted Pete, because they wanted him for the Derby, but it's shitty, because if you're asking me, you know, I think Lindor and Nimo belong there, and I think they belong there more than Pete does. But, you know, that's another story for another day. But I don't get the amount of hate that he gets, or what people truly want from someone. Like, I don't think I'm ever going to get it. And I've said, like, it's hard to change stupid. You can't change stupid. And people that still, because when you see the comments, and again, I hate going into the comments, but when you see comments of people saying how good he is, and I know Jay Hay Kid over at Baseball is Dead, who Cleveland fan and knows Lindor and says these things, and then the first comment in underneath his great post breaking everything down is like, yeah, well, he sucked in April and he was terrible. It's like, and it's just constantly bringing up a rough stretch. It's bringing up batting average. It's bringing up all these things. And it's just like, you can't change people's minds. Like, like they think he is this detriment when it's improper. And I'm not comping him to somebody like LeBron from the basketball sense, but I think, like, my point being, people bitched so much about LeBron. Eventually he's going to retire in the next couple of years, and you're going to look back and say, man, I wish I just enjoyed the guy playing, as opposed to bitching about him, because he truly was a special player. Like, I know there's other things with LeBron that piss people off, but it's kind of the same thing here, where it's like, Lindor is a special player and people are bitching, and then one day he's not going to be here. You're going to be like, hey, you remember Lindor? It's like, yeah, I wish he got more fucking respect. Same thing I talk about to this day about Carlos Beltran.
I've got obviously Beltran is the comp everybody always goes to, because they were both Mets and they've both dealt with it from Mets fans. I've got a comp for you that is very much in your wheelhouse that I don't think that you were going to expect me to make, but I'm going to make the comp, Ibby, and you let me know how this one fits. Lindor to Mets fans is exactly, even on the field, off the field, he's John Cena.
John going wrestling on me. Okay.
Tell me he's not John Cena.
I mean, it's funny that you say that. It's funny because I was actually thinking of saying I don't think I said it in our group chat, but I was going to say to Keith, I was like, I would love to, like, take this Mets roster, and because we were talking wrestling last week too, was like, and I would love to comp it to wrestlers of the present day, or even in the past, like what they like match up with. And you saying Cena there, like, it's topical because Cena's in the news. He's going to go on his retirement tour soon in 2025. It's like, you didn't respect him when he was there. Yeah, there were times where he got shoved down your throat, but at the same time, you're like, you look back, you're like, man, like, he was good. Like, he got it. It was all these, and it's like, you're looking at Lindor now, you're like, man, this guy's good. You're gonna look back one day, and like, fuck.
They both had
embraced it.
They both had the thankless job. Like, Lindor has to be he's the first superstar of the Steve Cohen Mets era.
Yes.
As Steve Cohen tries to change the tenor of what the Mets are, they identify Lindor as the superstar that can help usher that in. And that's going to be a hard job, especially if you don't come in and win a World Series year 1, year 2, whatever. Well, John Cena had to be the star, the guy, the fucking face of the company when they went from the Attitude Era, which was the biggest era that wrestling has ever had, to the Ruthless Aggression and rated PG era.
Right.
It was not easy. And I say this as somebody who liked wrestling growing up, watched wrestling into when I was, in college, basically. And then I stopped watching it because of the Ruthless Aggression era, because of the PG era, because it just got too soft for me. It got too uninteresting. It got too childish. But that is not a fault of John Cena. No. He's also, by everybody's account, a great guy, has the Guinness World Record for most Make-A-Wishes granted.
Yep.
He's the same caliber of person, as far as we know, obviously. I don't know Lindor and I don't know John Cena. But from everything they've shown us, they're even the same caliber of person who certainly don't deserve to be drugged the way that they've been drugged down. And the other thing I want to say, be really quick, about the All-Star game. I don't give a shit about the All-Star game either. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. But 2 things. One, it matters to players. And I feel bad for Lindor and I feel bad for Nimo because they want to be there. Now, I think they also will just be happy with their weekend off, but they want to be acknowledged by their peers. They know that the starters are voted in by fans and da-da-da-da-da-da. But to not be taken by your peers, to not be taken by the coaches, that's a slap in the face.
I don't get it.
And the other part of it is, I don't think it matters until it does. And I think the media and the league not acknowledging fully how good Lindor is gives the Lindor haters more fuel. Yes. If Lindor made the All-Star team every year and Lindor won a Gold Glove every year, kind of like he fucking should, by the way, because
he should be a 3-time All-Star as a Met, and he's not.
Absolutely. Silver Slugger, All-Star.
He should be.
Gold Glove winner. He should have all that shit, all that hardware as a Met. He should have it. He has none of it, which is absurd. Does he have a Silver Slugger? I think he has one. I think he won the Silver Slugger. Did he win it last year? On the 30-30 year? I could be wrong.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he did.
But
I'm not sure if he did.
I don't have it in front of me. I digress. All I'm saying is that these little things matter. If he had the Silver Slugger, if he had the Gold Glove, if he had the All-Star appearance, if he had this, if he had that, it would give less fuel to these idiots who think he's bad at baseball because he's fucking not. He's great. You are watching somebody, Ibby, who is already the best shortstop the Mets have ever had, period. Done. And he's probably going to be a Hall of Famer. So appreciate him while he's here.
And Keith and others have laid that out on Twitter, talking about how the pace he's at when it comes to home runs. He's on a Hall of Fame trajectory, and I don't understand why there is this hatred, this I don't know if it's hatred or people are just using other positions and saying that it's, this is more important for this exhibition game that we're trying to win. Like, give me a fucking break. Like, it's an accolade. I get it. I don't care for the game itself. I think it lost meaning a long time ago, but he does deserve to be there. And I'm going to bring this up because I'm not going to forget this graphic, because it's a big part of it. And my tweet was basically saying how, I love Francisco Lindor. I don't need the All-Star game. I love Brandon Nimo. I don't need the All-Star game. But just bringing up their numbers, since we decided as a team to put them into the 1-2 spot, once Nimo wasn't working as a 3, bumping him up to 2. We got some fantastic numbers. Shout out to Joe DeMeo for posting this as well. The 1-2 punch, Lindor in 46 games at 306, 369, 539, 908 OPS, 18 doubles, 9 homers, 27 RBIs, 10 stolen bags. Nimo, 23 games, 341, 437, 682, a little over 1,100 OPS, 6 doubles, 8 homers, 26 RBIs, and 3 stolen bags. Look, those numbers speak for themselves. Francisco Lindor's average and his overall numbers leading off a game or even higher than that. Okay. Brandon Nimo,
he's like over 500 leading off a game.
Brandon Nimmo's ranks in terms of outfielders when it comes to overall numbers are he's either one in a majority of the advanced statistics, or he's top 4 in the the back of the baseball statistics that people like to run to as well. So I'm sorry, like, I don't know what people think about all-stars, what their criteria is, but both guys are them. They're not there. Maybe they end up getting there because of injuries. To me, doesn't matter. I want them to get the respect. Of course, I want all players that are great on my team to get the respect, because I think that's what this team is always aching for, is just respect. And you win games, and that's how you gain respect. Those two are providing this team an opportunity to win, because they are the driving force behind the offensive numbers that are being just enough right now to protect a bullpen that's been on fire.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say this too. Look, Pete has not had a good year by his standards.
No, he hasn't.
You know how I feel about Pete. It has not changed. He has not been the Pete Alonso of old. I said this a couple weeks ago. Some guys, when they have a prove it year, they go out and prove it. Some guys, when they have a prove it year, they get a little nervous and they don't prove it as much. That happens. It is what it is. Some guys, when they get the good contract, they fold up. Some guys, when they get the big contract, they just hit the ground running and they're great. Baseball is played by human beings. This is not MLB The Show. This is not your ratings. I'm not saying that to excuse anything that has gone on with, Pete Alonso not having the best of seasons. All I'm going to say is, Ibby, he's an all-star for the Mets. And I think you can be upset that Lindor and Nimo aren't there, while also just celebrating the fact that Pete Alonso is there and Pete Alonso is going to go to the home run derby. The home run derby doesn't mean anything, but fuck it. He's a Met. I hope he wins it.
Right.
I think there's been too much, and I'm not saying the people who are like Nimo and Lindor deserved it more than Pete. That's fine, because that's true. That's the objective fact. But there have been some people who are Mets fans that are dumping on Pete making the All-Star team. Don't dump on Pete making the All-Star team. He's a player on your team who is a homegrown Met, who's the best home run hitter, best power hitter the Mets have ever developed. Let him go to the All-Star game. Let him go to the home run derby and hope that he wins it. Who cares? Why are you bashing him for doing it? That's ridiculous to me. I don't know. I think that's too far. I think you could say that the other guys deserve to go there more than him, and that's fine, but I don't think Pete needs hate for this. I think that's ridiculous.
No, there's no need to bash. We want our guys to be there. And I also think that people always bitch about saying how, you could have voted your guys in. I think Mets fans as a whole don't care about the All-Star game, because they would rather their guys not go there, not get hurt, focus on winning, because they want their team to win when it matters. And I'm fine with that too. But I mean, you got anything else? We're an hour and 7. We're about 10 minutes away from the start of the game. You got anything else before we get out of here?
Look, I want to see Senga back.
Could be right after the All-Star break. Could be.
Yeah, I love what Severino has brought to this team. I think Severino is a real candidate to be back here with the Mets. I think there's a lot of possibilities. I don't think he'll be extended. I think that's weird, and I don't think it's necessary. But I do think you could see a situation where he signs back with the Mets very quickly when the offseason starts, or even if he wants to test free agency, maybe he goes out and, the Mets bring him back. I want Senga back because I want to see what this team looks like. It'd be close to full strength. And I think going to a 6-man rotation with Senga back, maybe whoever else is in the rotation. Obviously, it's going to be Senga, Severino, Quintana will be there. Shout out TJ. Yep, right. Yep. Sharing a brand with me. It's going to be those 3 guys. It's probably going to be David Peterson. I think he's pitched himself into a rotation spot. Sean Manaea and maybe Jose Buto. I think those are the best 6 options that you could run out there every day. And maybe that allows each starting pitcher to go a little bit longer in the game, and maybe that helps some of your bullpen ills. Yeah. You put Tyler McGill in the bullpen. You hope Maton takes off a little bit. Maybe one of these other guys comes up. Maybe Sean Reed-Foley gets healthy. He comes back. Now you got this 6-man rotation. Maybe guys go a little bit deeper. Obviously, you're not going to expect that out of Senga at first. But I do think that maybe the addition of Senga into the 6-man rotation, maybe that helps the bullpen issues a little bit too. The other thing we didn't get to is just I don't know what they're going to do. Obviously, the offense has not been a problem. But God damn it, Jeff McNeil is horrendous. DJ Stewart is horrendous. And, I don't think they're going to prioritize going out and getting a piece on offense, but maybe a spare piece. Maybe you can get Jesse Winker. And I think Jesse Winker would be a better option than DJ Stewart at what DJ Stewart is doing.
I love Winker. I would love Winker to be here. I know the fans love him here too.
I think it'd be a good story. I think
I know
good
Carson,
story.
Yeah, I know Carson says he's more of a vibes guy, and I agree. He's more of a vibes guy. He's not like this killer when it comes to being at the thing. He's having a solid year. And it would be smart for the Nats to move him off of I think he signed a 1-year deal there, 1 year prove it. But it would be smart for them to move him. But for me, before we get out of here, I just wanted to say that I think this team at 45 and 45. I think this team at 45 and 45 has something happened. I think this team at 45 and 45 has proven that they, I think what Brendan Nimo said is proper. I think they're proving that they belong, that they should be aggressive. And I think that, look, I had said that I feel that options might be limited, and they might. So we got to let's play out a little bit more. But this offense and the fight that these vets have shown, I think they do deserve to be rewarded. And I think that David Stearns is going to, again, I said it last week, it's going to be more of a soft buy, and which could also bring a soft sell in terms of certain players to get what you need potentially. But I think it kind of goes both ways, soft buy, soft sell. But regardless, bringing, I don't know if reinforcements is the proper word, but bringing in some help. I think that is warranted. It's deserved. And sure, a lot of things can change in 2 weeks, but I think that's where I am as a fan, and I think that the guys deserve it.
I totally agree. That'll be my last point that I said a couple weeks ago. I said it on Twitter. I said it on this show. Winning matters. You can't just sit there and go, well, they're probably not going to win a World Series, right? So, there's no point in going for it. Too much of the league does that. That's bullshit. It's the way baseball's run, punitive luxury tax, all that nonsense. Too many haves and have-nots. The disparity in between the teams at the top and the teams at the bottom is brutal because a lot of the teams in the middle don't try. And the Mets are a team in the middle right now, very literally. They are at 500 with an even run differential, blah, 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 blah. They're sitting right in the middle. But their roster is good enough to contend. I don't know if their roster is good enough to win a World Series, but maybe this time last year, I would have not told you that the Texas Rangers were good enough to win a World Series, and no one in the fucking world would have told you that the Diamondbacks were good enough to make a World Series. I don't know that these Mets have – I don't know that they have this kind of run in them. But you don't know it about some of these teams. Just get in. And if you're this close for this long – push your chips in. Now, I'm not saying go all in. I'm not saying you trade, Drew Gilbert for a middle reliever. That's insane anyway. No. You wouldn't do that.
And they wouldn't. And that middle
they wouldn't do that. Yeah. And obviously, Stearns isn't going to do that. And there's not going to be the Scott Kazmir for Victor Zambrano debacle. Something like that's not going to happen because we have better leadership, and also teams just don't operate that way anymore, right? If anything, you could say that Billy Epler operated too conservatively at the trade deadline. Yeah. So, teams aren't going to do that. You're not going to see that happen. But you also can't be attached to every prospect, because what if something really cool pops into your lap? What if there's an option to get a player of some kind of significance, or, get a relief pitcher and, a position player, and you just trade, Acuna for him or something like that? I don't know what that deal is. I'm just saying you can't get attached to these prospects like, oh my God, we could never move on from them. You don't know. You don't know what's there. None of us do. I don't know. You don't know, whatever. So, listen, they should be trying to buy. They should be rewarding this team at the end of the day. They should. I firmly believe that, and I will stand on that. I do. So that's all I got to say.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. 313 of you are here right now. Shout out to every single one of you. We appreciate you. We're going to get out of here. The game is about to start. But again, if you haven't already, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate every single one of you along this journey. I do plan on doing that giveaway soon that I have promised the last couple of weeks. I'm going to get it off the ground shortly. So stay tuned.
Did we talk about what it is, or is it still a secret?
I have not said what it is yet. I'm going to wait on that one just a little bit, but
it's good. I know what it is.
I like where things are going. So yes. Again, make sure if you haven't already, like the video, subscribe to the channel. We are on our way towards 800 subs. We appreciate all of you. Follow me at Poison_B. Follow John at John Saponaro and all of the things that he gets involved in when it comes to the
follow
world
me,
of
harass me, do what you want. I'm not gonna block you, for the most part.
Shout out to Manscaped. Again, promo code TMDUP at checkout, 20% off and free shipping. We got all the gear. We're gonna keep pushing. We love the partnership there. Independent safes. Go buy a safe. Go buy a panic room. Go buy whatever the hell you want over there as well. $99. Get your free shipping over there as well. The crop preserver over there for John, fixing everything that needs to fix as the weather might be, whatever it may be, where he is, rainy, dreary, whatever it may be, cold, pure London weather.
It's a proper British summer.
Yeah, exactly. So all that being said, shout out to every one of you, all the love. As always, let's go Mets. Let's win a series today. Let's have some fun on this ride, and again, be patient, because I think some good is going to come out of all of this. But
I agree.
I'm Ibby. That's John, and I got to do a sign off for once. That was kind of cool, a little bit different. But shout out to all of you. Have a fantastic week, and we'll see you. Will you be here next week, John? I don't even know. Will you be here?
Possibly.
Know? Maybe. We'll see. Either way,
possibly. I'm going to be in a whole nother country next week.
Either way, I'll be here. We'll see if he's here. Have a great week, guys. Let's go Mets.